landed, and you can see all these different rocks. And once again, the scientists on Earth were using these pictures to help plot its course to avoid it running into any of the bigger rocks. Here we go to Sol 391, well into its second year now, Earth year on Mars. They started to find, and this is when things got really interesting, the higher they got, that the rocks started to be found were rich in a mineral called goethite. Jim Bell talks about it in his article in our July issue. This is an iron oxide mineral that can only be formed by the alteration of precursor minerals in water. This is why they sent Spirit to Gusev Crater, to find rocks that clearly had formed or been altered by liquid water, showing that in its distance past, Gusev Crater was almost certainly a lake. Here we just see getting closer to the top here. And you can see all these big rocks that you definitely do not want to run into. So this is on Sol 418, getting higher. And this is a really cool picture. This is an outcrop of rocks called Larry's Lookout. That these rocks almost certainly were altered by liquid water sometime in the distant past. Now we're getting near the summit of Husband Hill. Now these, interesting or not, these are actually volcanic rocks. There must have been some kind of volcanic eruption billions of years ago that blasted these rocks, and they landed here near the summit of Husband Hill. And here we go, Sol 582, on August 26, 2005, Spirit reached the summit of Husband Hill, 269 feet above the surrounding plain, or about 27 stories high. That, you know, this was really an incredible achievement. When the rovers landed, they took the panorama, showed the Husband Hill in the distance. There's no way that any of the mission scientists or planners could have ever dreamed that they would have actually climbed to the top of Husband Hill. That was something that I asked Jim about this. It wasn't even something they even thought about, because it was so beyond their thought of what was possible for these rovers. They hadn't designed them to make this kind of climb, and they didn't think they could possibly last long enough to get to the Columbia Hills. So this was really an amazing technical achievement to build rovers that, you know, were versatile, could last long enough, climb a hill, and the mission planners for steering a safe course to get to the top of Husband Hill. So here we see a beautiful panorama taken from the summit of Husband Hill, looking down at some of the other Columbia Hills in the distance. And this is a very weird 16-inch tall rock found near the summit called Tomahawk. And here we see on the way down, and unfortunately they didn't issue this picture in 3D, on the coming down Husband Hill on the other side, the east side, there was this beautiful dune field called El Dorado, and I have a color picture of it in one of my other presentations, but they didn't do a 3D picture. But here they grinded the rat tool into the sand and took this high resolution picture, and this sand here turns out to be ground up volcanic rock made of, you know, basaltic material. So now we're coming down, and you can start to see here some layering in some of these rocks on the other side of the hills. This is a rock called Gong Gong. That's a heavily eroded volcanic rock. And now on the other side then, it reached this area called Home Plate, this kind of broad area made of whitish material. And what was immediately intriguing is you see this very fine scale layering, just like sedimentary rock here on Earth. And this was really cool. This is when you can turn a negative into a positive. Spirit started, its right front wheel died. I don't remember exactly what caused it to fail, but you know, these rovers have 6 wheels, and one of which Spirit's wheels no longer turn. Fortunately, the other 5 wheels can still move it along, but it drags its right front wheel, which slows it down, and that's why Spirit has driven less than half the distance of opportunity. All 6 wheels are still functioning, But it was a positive, because as they were dredging up this dust on the surface, they dredged up this whitish material that was right below the surface, just a few millimeters below the surface. Chemical analysis showed that it's salts, sulfur-rich salts, material that was once inside liquid water. Here we see then we're getting into a second Martian winter. This is Husband Hill here, that it parked in this area called Winter Haven. You can see this picture was taken over 100 sols. That's over like half an Earth year. Took this panorama, and it rode out the Martian winter from this location. Both rovers now have survived 3 Martian winters, which once again, you know, if you would have told Jim Bell or one of the Steve Squires, one of the team members in 2004, and say the rovers are still going to be alive in 2009 and will have survived 3 Martian winters, they would have said, you're nuts. Okay, now we're getting to some fairly recent pictures called Ballpark Pan. This, by the way, is part of home plate here. Kind of this white area of kind of more light-colored rocks. And they now know from detailed analysis that home plate contains deposits of sulfate, hydrated sulfates, and hydrated silica. These are minerals that are common in terrestrial hydrothermal areas such as hot springs. Now this is really cool too, because this indicates a habitable area, and the silica on Earth is an excellent preserver of fossils and chemical evidence for life. So you can imagine NASA or other countries would someday like to send another mission to this area or some similar area to see if we can find evidence for past Martian life. And I want to stress the rovers were not really equipped to look for life. The instruments were designed to look for evidence of water and environments that would be conducive to life, not life itself. So here we see, this was taken just a few months ago in February on the northern edge of home plate. And here we can see another fairly recent picture. And this is cool. You can see a dust devil here in the distance. Mars has frequent dust devils. They turn out to be a good thing for the rovers, because every so often a dust devil goes right over the rover and clears off the solar panel of dust so they can continue to generate electricity. The dust devils, though, if we ever send humans in the future, the dust devils might turn out to be a nuisance, because they're going to throw dust all over the place. So this is, once again, a panorama, a fairly recent picture. Spirit has now traveled almost 5 miles, but at the moment it's currently stuck in soft sand. So the driving has been suspended. Engineers are actively working on a problem right now. I would give it about a 3/4 chance they will eventually get out of this mess. They're being very careful. They're being careful not to do anything drastic that might make the problem worse. But they are working on it. They've gotten Opportunity out of similar jams in the past, but Opportunity has 6 functioning wheels. Spirit has 5, so that will make the problem a little bit more difficult. Assuming that they can get out of this sand trap that it's in at the moment, they're going to move on to the south to explore these volcanic hills named after the 2 great rocket pioneers, Goddard and von Braun. Okay, so now I'm going to shift to the other side of Mars,